Hi, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of Couch Potato Queen Survivor Australian Outback Recap. I'm your host, Josh Mendelson, and I am so excited to discuss the next two episodes because these are legendary episodes. Firstly, I want to bring on my co-host, who is going to be co-hosting with me on Survivor Recaps, as well as he's our newest member to the Couch Potato Queen family. He is going to be heading our new Bravo and Real Housewife podcast. Everybody meet Sam Henson.
Hey, everybody. I'm Other Sam. I guess that's what I'll have to go by. I'm Other Sam. So I'm very excited to be here talking about, again, two of the best episodes of Survivor, I think maybe of all time, question mark. And it's a joyous day, not to date the podcast or anything, but it is a good day here in America.
Oh, Sam, we are discussing finger waving and chickens. There's nothing better. But I'm so excited to have you here. It's going to be so much fun. Let's just get into business right now. Let's go.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, starting off, we get right to Ogakor. They had just voted out Mitchell, and right now there's a few things happening. There's a big forest fire taking over Ogakor. It's on the other side of the river. It's right there. People are noticing it. There's smoke within the camp. And also, Amber and Jerry are upset about Mitchell. So Jerry gives a quote, "It's a whole new ball game." She knows she's on the bottom, and they know they have to fight for Colby right now because Tina and Keith have swayed him. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, in terms of Jerry and Amber, they're just like absolute toast at this point. I don't even think they realize it. Or maybe if they do, there's one quote where Jerry basically goes, "It's basically the end of any alliance." And Colby's like, "I don't care." And I think that just basically sums up that entire segment of like, they're on the bottom. And I think, I'm sure you talked about it last episode, but the tiebreaker, everything changes if the format is different in many ways throughout the season. And this was just like another unlucky break for Jerry and Amber, who I do think Jerry and Amber have definitely a more kind of strategic mind than I think people give them credit for, even in the Australian Outback. Like, they're thinking of numbers and staying on top of it. And now they know they're absolutely toast, basically, within this alliance.
You know what? Honestly, Jerry's still so naive anyway, though. I think she secretly still thinks she's the head of the Ogakor tribe, even though it's Jerry going crazy. But I still think so. I don't think Amber knows where she is. I don't think she knows she signed up for Survivor. She was just like, let's get out of college and go to the Outback. So
and even in the next episode that we'll talk about, it's like, Jerry's talking about even if they lose immunity, there's still many chances for her to make herself into the other alliance. And I think she is thinking this game is much more fluid than it really is. And that's like the whole story of early Survivor, is that it is locked, basically, what the outcome is. And it just depends on immunity challenges.
Oh, for sure. And you know what? I think right now, at least Jerry is somewhat aware of Colby kind of in the middle right now. But I will say, Tina Wesson and Keith Thamey did a great job of turning Colby against Jerry. I give them props for what they did the last episode.
Yeah, I give Tina more props than Keith. I think it's all Tina. And I think you see that in the end result as well. She just had a way. She found the majority within the tribe, which is just like kind of spectacular because the tribe had a lot of younger people on it, and she was someone that was an alternate to Australian Outback. I think everyone knew that. She found a way to get into the majority line, swing Colby away from the other young people, and just really run this tribe. And of course, they have a couple really lucky breaks coming up shortly that will determine the rest of the game. But yeah, she has found herself into the prime spot on this tribe, which is props to her. As an older woman, we love to see it.
Yes, Tina Watson, as Tina once said, "In the spirit of the Olympics, let the games begin." So, let's go.
She has an incredible line too at Tribal Council that we'll get
to. She has a few. She has another one coming up in a later episode. I'm going to spoiler. So here's your ticket, buddy. That's another one.
Exactly.
But she's great. Okay, so now on to the Kucha tribe. Right now, this is Kimmi's episode. This is Kimmi Kappenberg, the episode. They should just retitle it. So right now, Kimmy's saying at night it was super cold. Jeff Varner saying he had a fire in on his woolly.
Great
They
line.
moved, so they moved their fire as a group. It was too close to where they were sleeping. You wake up, it's the morning. Kimmy's making best friends with all the chickens. Michael wants Kimmi to let go of the chicken thing. They go to kill the chicken, and she's like, "I'm leaving. I'm out of here." And Michael makes fun of it. She's like, "I'm out of here." Da 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 da. And Kimmi is just getting too close to those chickens. What's your thought on Kimmi?
I love Kimmi. I think she is one of the, if I look at characters that went out pre-marriage, she is probably one of the all-time greats. And what always kills me in the early Survivors, the music is so different than the music that currently plays on Survivor, which is like da 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 da. And like this one is very like the sad guitar acoustics getting out while Kimmi is just like hunched over, like crying about the chickens while they're killing it. It's just like beautiful symmetry, beautiful editing here. It's just incredible preview of what's to come.
Amazing. It's great. I think Kimmy's an all-star. We just had her on for our first episode for Australia. We had Kimmi on, and it was incredible. Like, she has not changed a bit. She's still as fantastic as she was then. In all honesty, though, Kimmi was always a player that I thought if she came back, she could do very well. And spoiler alert, she did, and she did do very well. So she really was a beast around camp. So I have mad respect for Kimmi. I think she's underrated as a player, and I think in a different circumstance, she could have made it very far, potentially to the end. So I know she's sticking to her guns, being a vegetarian, and props to her. So,
and I think that is like a super funny thing to watch back. That's just extremely dated. The fact that it's like, oh my God, she's a vegetarian. They make so much to do about absolutely nothing that would like never make the edit in today's Survivor. And it's just super funny that like she came in very early Survivor when it was just still finding its roots, and like this was the main drama of Kimmi being the vegetarian and not being able to eat the chicken, and Michael's just like, get over it, basically, which kills me.
Horrible.
She's like, goodbye to the chicken.
It's kind of like that meme that's like the villain of the show, the true villain. It's like
exactly.
The villain would be Kimmi, and then the true villain would be Michael Skupin, because we all know what happened to him. So
yes, and I feel the same way about Jerry on the other side. Like,
yes,
there's the show villain, and then there's the real villain. And
yes.
I think there is something to be said that like during these early seasons, all of these women like Jerry and Lindsay Richter, they're all women. And I think that's definitely a weird thing at the time that definitely changes throughout the show. But people hated these people because the show just dumped on them time after time after time, which is crazy.
know. And Kimmi, there's like that bunch, even like to somewhat of a way, like maybe like Sarah Jones and the Marquesas, you know what I mean? Like there's a few of those women who were kind of like strong women who knew how to play the game in ways that if men played like them, they would be looked at as kings, but because a woman's playing at that, she's seen as a bitch, or she's seen as a whore, she's seen as horrible. Like it's awful. It's sexism at its finest in the old days.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that when both Jerry and Kimmi have played, like towards the later seasons, their edit is just completely different, because that's just, they can't edit the same way, and it's not as just one note. Jerry had a great season in Heroes vs. Villains, and Kimmi had a pretty great season in Cambodia. Like they both made it really far, because like that's just not the kind of people they were as they were in the Australian Outback, when the show was just like, they are horrible and everyone hates them,
Exactly. So while Kucha is, gorging on pigs and chickens, we got Ogakor sitting over there, who is scrapping at the bottom of the rice pan, trying to eat the burnt pieces of rice. They are starving. You got Jerry bitching about Keith dumping the fish guts, because she told him to dump the fish guts at the edge near the river, and she's pissed about that. You got Jerry and Keith fighting again. You got Jerry pissed at the whole Ogakor tribe. You have Jerry pissed at everything. You have her pissed at Jeff Probst, probably pissed that she decided to come out there. Jerry's the definition of hangry. I really feel like Jerry only gets mad because she's hungry, so we got to feed her.
And you know what? I think Everyone makes a big deal out of the Colby and Jerry rivalry, but to me, the Keith and Jerry rivalry is really where the drama is. That is where the tea is. And I believe that Keith should have returned with Jerry at some point, because I live for every episode they are bickering about something so dumb. And I love it. The fact that she was just getting on his case about giving fish, dead fish, and she's like, the fish are full. The fish are full. That's why we're not catching any fish. And it's just like the craziest things I've never heard from anyone's mouth before. Jerry just goes there. And I'm so glad that Keith, but I also think Keith likes to fight with Jerry. I think he gets like off on it as well, because they're always doing it. They're always fighting throughout the entire season.
It's legendary.
It's legendary.
Jerry versus Keith need to be like Survivor Rivals season. Like that.
I agree. Way more than with Colby. Like Keith and Jerry are where the drama is.
Okay, yeah. So Colby's hot AF. We all know this. He's a stud. Actually, he's even more of a stud as a daddy today. If you look at his Instagram, the guy is hot AF. He's hotter now in his like mid to late 40s than he was then. But like Colby's overrated. Sorry, he's an overrated player. I don't find like overall he's not that good in the timeline of Survivor. But hey, you know, it is what it is, right?
See, I've never found Colby to be like a good player of Survivor. I do really find him to be like a really great character in the Australian Outback. Like definitely less so as the seasons progress. He just kind of becomes more of like a shell of himself. But in this season, when he is like willing to go and like kind of play ball with Jerry, and he gives like some of the best quotes I think of all time. And so I really do appreciate him as a character in the season, which is because I do not appreciate most straight men on Survivor as characters.
Oh, none of us do. That's the case.
None of us do.
The gays want all the straight men out. They're boring. So seasons where straight men all make it to the end, I'm like, I'm switching. But I'm still going to recap them, everybody. You're still going to get some of the horrible seasons. Okay, they're coming. Redemption Island is coming, everybody. Not for a while, though. All right, so next we're going to go to Kucha Tribe. And before we talk about what happens on the Kucha Tribe, we are going to ask our special correspondent, Kimmi, on her thoughts of the epic fight that went down between her and Alicia. Take it away, Kimmi.
Okay, so Alicia and I were kind of butting heads on a lot of things because we were both very strong-willed women. And when I say we, I mean I did a really good job at winning some chickens for our tribe because I'm a great puzzle solver, and I did that. But we had chickens who were laying eggs because I was helping to take care of those chickens, because as any good farmer or rancher, you take care of your livestock. So you take care of them, they produce. So our chickens were laying eggs, which, by the way, are protein. We were fishing and catching fish. We won 4 chickens. 3 chickens and I guess a rooster. So why would you go and kill a chicken every single day if they were providing eggs and you had fish? So I was telling Alicia, you don't have to kill all 4 chickens consecutively in 4 days in a row. If you get fish one day, don't kill the chicken. Well, that kind of rubbed Alicia the wrong way. And she thought that I was getting too attached to the chickens, which I wasn't. I was just humanely taking care of them. And that's how the whole fight started. She started waving her finger in my face and mumbling under her breath. And my opinion is, if you got something to say, then don't mumble under your breath. Just come up and say it. I mean, she's got balls so freaking big, but then all of a sudden she wants to be all meek and speak under her breath. Well, we had to get it out into the moment. She doesn't give a shit about those fucking chickens, I guess, but I did. And I was right, because later on she even said that she wasn't going to let people know that I was right. But yeah, if there was protein coming from other ways, we should not have had to kill the chickens every single day. So I win. Haha.
All right. So, you know, her thoughts on this were exactly what we were thinking. But
incredible thoughts.
Just to summarize what happened, Kimmi and Alicia got into a fight over the chickens. Alicia was tired of her and the effing chickens. Alicia was wagging her finger in Kimmy's face, and Kimmi was not having it. But the one thing that I noticed about that fight is Jeff Varner caused the whole thing. If you notice in the video when they're fighting, Jeff Varner is walking in the background up the hill because he literally lit a bomb, lit the fuse, and walked away. If you don't notice, that's the tea.
Look, he's a gay. He loves the drama. Even back then, he was always thirsty for it.
Yep, you got it. What's your thoughts on the big Kimmi versus Alicia fight?
I mean, it is just like iconic is the only word that I could think of because it is the first time in Survivor where there was a blow up of this magnitude. And like, I guess looking back, it's not the craziest fight that's ever happened on the show, but it is super significant for just being the first. And I'm obviously team Kimmi all the way. I've never really clicked with Alicia as a character. I don't really understand Alicia as a character, nor do I understand why she returned for All Stars. But I think this is the moment that got her on All Stars when she should be thanking Kimmi and Varner for getting her there because they were the ones that were really kind of instrumental in her big moment of waving her finger.
I completely agree with you. I'm not really a fan of Alicia. I think Alicia is one-dimensional. I've not been a fan. I kind of put her in the same boat as Jenna Lewis, which is so funny that you said, like, with All Stars. Like, in that season, Jenna Lewis and Alicia, I hate them. I genuinely hate both of them. I think they're vile people on the season of All Stars. And it really just ruins my opinion of them for their original seasons as well, because how awful they are their second time around. Like, which we will get to that. But
see, I think those, for me, I like Jenna Lewis and Borneo versus All Stars. For me, Alicia is very consistent through her two performances. And like, this is just what she is. And like, she can give you maybe one stink comment, but then it's not really anything else. And even people like Elizabeth within this segment were trashing how much Alicia just likes to talk crap about everybody. Like, they're even on Kimmi's side when it comes to Alicia just being completely annoying.
I know Elizabeth is like Alicia's in charge of talking trash about people. They all know Alicia's role in the tribe is just to sit there with Jeff Varner and talk shit. That's what it is.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts about. So, as someone that watches Australian Outback, I think we all can agree that like Elizabeth is a very sweet girl, but knowing kind of what comes later, does that like, taint any of like you watching her on the season?
It's so hard to say. So Sam Meyer was originally my host, and he didn't and never watched her on The View. So he never had that opinion of Elizabeth Hasselbeck that so many of us have. So for me personally, it's really hard for me to separate that, but I can. I am actually able to. It took me a little bit of practice here, but I'm really looking to separate this Elizabeth from the Elizabeth that was on The View and had some very serious opinions on things that I don't necessarily agree with. So at the end of the day, yes, Elizabeth 2020, Elizabeth even 2005, not a fan, but I do like Elizabeth from 2001. So who was on television 20 years ago. I like this one, but I will say it does kind of make me not like her as much, just by a tad.
It definitely like haunts over your mind, especially like watching it and watching also what you know about Scoopin' as well. It's just like this weird dissonance of like these people are put up on these like big pedestals. And look, I like Elizabeth a lot. And I think if you've read any of like the behind the scenes about The View, you know that like all of her opinions were basically like implanted in her head after Survivor. Like, I don't even think she even believes any of what she ends up believing while she's on this show. That's the truth that I like pretend to believe because I want to like believe that Elizabeth is as good as she is here, you know.
That's a good take though, because I had no clue. I thought she felt this way all along. So
so she was brought in as like the sweetheart on The View, and they needed a conservative voice at the time. And the executive producer on The View was extremely conservative. So before every show, he would like coach Elizabeth on what to say. And I think eventually along the way, she just kind of like became this persona, but when it started, that's not really what she was. She was definitely more conservative, more Christian girl, but it wasn't anywhere where she ends up. You know, that's kind of the next generation of Elizabeth.
Yeah, and obviously things change then because I think you're noticing the world as a whole right now heading out of a more conservative way. You have a lot of conservative people. Our country's really split right now. Not to really go into politics, but we've definitely gone in a different direction. I think from like showing a lot of like religion and those type of views on the show as well. I think we've kind of gone a step away from that.
Yeah, especially because this is like the last season that aired at least pre 9/11. And so especially after 9/11, there is a lot of like America, rah, 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 prayer. And like, we're just so far past that as a country. Like that is definitely the Elizabeth Hasselbeck country, the post 9/11 country. And it's just not that anymore. So I think that's really interesting to see how that tracks as well for the show.
Yeah, not a problem. It's definitely gone in a different direction.
Absolutely.
I still love that time period. Like the seasons were incredible. Like I think specifically the Marquesas season is very based on religion, but I still think Marquesas is a great season. It's incredible.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I love early Survivor too. And I think one thing that I've been tracking, so I basically did a rewatch for most of Survivor last in 2020. And one thing that's really been like bothering me about kind of modern Survivor is like for a long time, there was common wisdom of like, oh, the post-merge is like the best thing about Survivor. But like, and to me, the last like few modern seasons, it's just like, that's when the whole season falls apart. So I've really been like tracking the pre-merges, especially with all these seasons. And Australian Outback has one of the all-time best pre-merge sets of episodes of any series. And one thing I love, every episode has something. Just fires off. And like, I know it gets boring post the merge, but every immunity challenge has such high stakes. And that's something that is not replicated on modern Survivor. And it makes you like truly care about the outcome of the immunity challenges, even if the challenges themselves are fairly uninteresting. You know?
Exactly. And you know what? That leads us to our reward challenge. So the pre-reward challenge, they get, their tree mail and they need to build a travois for their tribe and each choose 2 items from a catalog to win as a reward, along with the shampoo, toothpaste, etc. So this is actually a take on a challenge they did last season. They did the rescue challenge. So I think they kind of like revamped it, made it a little bit more fun to get them more items. So I think one team gets like blankets and spices. That's Kucha, while Ogakor gets spices and soup. Now, my little comment again is to Jerry, being her biatch self with the stretcher. She's like, I kind of took over for making the travois, just kind of grabbed the bull by the horns. So she was prepping for that challenge.
Oh, she never stops. You love Jerry. I love Jerry. She just never stops.
Amazing. So we get to the challenge. It's a rescue challenge. It's actually a really close race, but once again, Ogakor loses. Kucha beats Ogakor and just wrecks their spirits, especially Amber, who's crying and is just sick of losing. She's just completely wrecked. She's I don't know how she's gonna get through this. Poor girl. This is like the first episode of really seeing Amber, who she is. Apart from that, all the only Amber memories I get are, that's so good. That's all Amber's known for doing. But what are your thoughts on the challenge?
It was fine. Like, I think a lot of the early challenges in Survivor that they just haven't quite figured it out yet is that I think it's better when you keep 2 teams like in the same area to see kind of where they are in the challenge. Like, that's something they have to like always put up chyrons of like Kucha's ahead or Ogakor's leading, or, because like you never can really follow what's happening within the challenge. I think this one's like a good one. I like the idea of there being like rescuers and rescuees. And I think that'd be really cool if they kind of stretched it into like a jungle type scenario. But like, other than that, it's just like, I'll take it or leave it. Mid-tier, I guess. So, yeah.
Exactly. It's just middle of the road. You have Alicia like running like she's all buff and showing off her body.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only memory I have of that. And then they got, Kucha finally got, bath supplies and all these great things. Because I forgot to mention earlier, Kimmi does not like showering or bathing in the river.
That was shady. Michael's comments towards her were shady. Everything's smelly.
You talk about it. Tell us about it. Tell us about his
Basically, Kimmi just has not been bathing at all because she says she does not like the water. And I guess in some ways, like, yeah, that water looks really gnarly. But at the same time, it's like, girl, she has apparently like inches of dirt on her body. So with this challenge, she's finally able to bathe herself. It's more of just like all part of that downfall of Kimmi edit that we're getting this episode. Like, who even knows if like the Kimmi smells stuff was even from this like set of episodes, but it definitely just like fits in like, oh, Kimmy's definitely the outcast.
Well, I didn't ask Kimmi how she smells, unfortunately. I wish I did. But I'm sure she smells like roses. I love you, Kimmi. But back to post that. Yeah, I mean, Kimmi really needed to bathe. based on what the tribe was saying. I don't like the shadiness off Scoopin because we could throw out a few shady things about him. But you know, that's how it is.
There
So
was literally a quote that was, "Thank God we won so we could bathe Kimmi."
exactly. Good for them. They finally get to bathe Kimmi. Kimmi is twirling around the river. She's twirling. She's giving like a drag performance of a lifetime. I'm living.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it.
I love it. Gays, you know, there has been a hashtag of gays for Kimmi. I'm just going to keep it going with gays for Kimmi because it's epic and the gays love Kimmi. They always will.
She deserves it. She deserves it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Really, Ogacor's only little bit before the immunity challenge is how like Colby's frustrated with losing and spirits are weighed down with Ogacor. I really think Ogacor needs, like, they know like this is do or die this next challenge for them. Like, if they lose again, they are screwed at the merge. Like, they're done. So they need a come to Jesus moment.
Yeah, I think that must be super kind of intimidating. They've lost the last 3 immunity challenges and they must win the next 2 or else they are all the first 5 people out at the merge. So yeah, this is do or die at the immunity challenge.
For sure. And the immunity challenge is actually one that I really like. It's a giant maze. And they have to go through the maze. And I think it's like 6 checkpoints. They have to get 6 tags. And they make it through. They have to go as a tribe and travel together, which we'll talk about that part. But there was no sitting out. You had 7 on Kucha, 5 on Ogacor. And at the end, really, Ogacor really slays it because they have only 5 members, so it's less that they have to keep together, and they end up going on and winning the challenge. What are your thoughts on the maze?
I was also really taken back. First, I like the maze. I like all maze challenges. I think one thing that we've seen through time is that they've like lowered the top of the maze so you could kind of see the contestants' heads while they move through it, which I do think is a better version. Otherwise, you're just kind of seeing them walk through the same thing over and over again. I also thought like I was very kind of struck by the fact that they didn't have anyone sit out. Like I think even if there's no advantage, quote unquote, of having more people in the challenge, like I think it should always be even players on both sides. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I think there is advantages to having either smaller teams or even more people to like look out for where to go. I don't know. It was bizarre to me.
Oh, for sure. And well, the tea is, and this is what Kimmi was talking about, was that like because there were 7 members on Kucha, like they were at a disadvantage. And she said that they had like told production, like, hey, we're going to be at a disadvantage here. Why aren't you making 2 of us sit out? They're like, you're not going to be at a disadvantage. It's not going to be an issue. But they were totally at a disadvantage. So I think Kucha probably should have won this. But
probably. Do you think it's a conspiracy against?
You know what? There are a few conspiracies. Did you hear about? I'm going to go back to Borneo, but did you hear about the conspiracy? Well, there's a new conspiracy theory on Borneo. If you watch our Borneo playlist with me and Sam Meyer, we did not talk about this because I just realized this. But Jenna Lewis apparently went on a podcast with Johnny Fairplay and said that Kelly Wigglesworth in Survivor Borneo was cheating and getting snacks and like protein bars from a production member, and she was fooling around with him as well. So she was having sex with the production member and getting food for it. So that's why she was winning all of those rewards and all of those immunities, because she was strong in eating while the other rest of the tribe was not. And apparently she offered Colleen and Jenna a Werther's mint. Or like one of those like Werther's caramel candies, and they turned it down. And apparently Richard Hatch knew about all of this, and he basically was willing. He was waiting to, if he would have lost and Kelly would have won, he would have sued CBS for it. So Jenna Lewis like opened up bomb with this, and and there's more tea. And there's more tea that apparently like pre-jurors in season 1 were actually not flown away on the trip. They were all still there and actually at the tribal council in the background. And she said that Stacey Stillman was like telling off Mark Burnett at the finale.
That's brilliant. Wow. That incredible. Is honestly, in those early seasons, I absolutely believe it.
Yeah, so that is some tea for everybody, because we didn't really announce it on our Borneo podcast. But hey, here it is, Australian Outback.
Here's more tea.
More tea with Josh. I needed to bring that up. But yeah, so at the end of the day, Ogacor wins the challenge. Amber's crying with joy. She's like, these are tears of joy, Jeff.
Yeah.
Maybe her tears of joy are that she finally got airtime. Yes! Got her all-star spot. We're good. But basically, though, after the challenge, we get back to Kucha. Elizabeth and Roger are actually discussing voting Alicia. So that's actually something I forgot about. They have really the power with the vote. There's a huge rainstorm. They had to tribal. And at the end of the day, Elizabeth and Roger don't come through. Everybody votes out Kimmi, and our Kimmi is voted out. What are your thoughts about that?
So I think the Roger and Elizabeth stuff to me was like a complete red herring in the episode. Like, I don't think they were ever considering to vote out Alicia, because at the tribal council, Kimmi doesn't even vote for Alicia. She votes for Jeff because that's everyone told her voting. So I think that was just kind of like a red herring because, let's just make it not as obvious that Kimmi is about to get voted out unanimously. I also think there's something weird happening with the vote read, which I know you didn't get to, but the vote read, they go Kimmi, 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 all four Kimmis, and they don't read out Kimmi's vote, which is extremely important when you have tiebreakers decided by vote counts. Like, it's just it's insane. And I'm like, wonder if like behind the scenes they were like, hey, like, well, who did you vote for? Because we actually need to know that information. Like, that's extremely important. And I think, it's sad. Kimmi, I love Kimmi, which has a better run later on. So this was a perfect little blip. 5 episodes in of Kimmi, we got a good taste of what's to come. Definitely.
Definitely. No, and that was surprising. Then it was also surprising that she voted Jeff and not Alicia. That was surprising to me as well.
Yeah, she said that in her voting commercial, said this really should be Alicia, but I hear other people are voting for Jeff. So I think like there must have been like definitely a throw off. But again, I think that totally discounts all that like Roger and Elizabeth talking about Alicia stuff. I think that was more of just lip service to us.
Oh, 100%. Now we have one more person's to take on the vote off today. We have Kimmi's take on everything that went down as well. So, Kimmi, what is your take on everything that went down? Let's see.
I am just going to point out that the day that I got voted off, we had a challenge where all the tribe members had to go run through a maze and collect pieces at each point in the maze. Well, they said that our tribe did not have to sit anybody out, even though we had more tribe members, because there was no advantage or disadvantage. Well, that's bullshit, because let me tell you something. When you're trying to get 7 people around a maze versus I think they had 6 or 5 at that point, whatever it was, it's fewer bodies. And I think Ogakor had a distinct advantage of us getting over, of them getting over to each puzzle piece throughout the maze. I'm just going to start with that. So we ended up losing because they're not tripping, 7 different people all over the place. Somebody should have been sat out of our tribe, as they had in the previous challenges, by the way. So at my tribal council, again, I guess just because I wasn't kissing ass at the time, we just, every day, I just happened to be the one that day rubbing everyone the wrong way. And I went home, and it wasn't a surprise. I knew I was on the chopping block because you had Alicia and Jeff Varner so tight. And then you had Elizabeth and Roger so tight. And Nick was going to do what everybody else was doing. So it was just kind of about me getting voted out. And it hurt, but I knew it was coming. But let me tell you something. If it had been the day before tribal council was, Mike Skupin was really pissing everybody off. He would have went home. So it was hard. It's very emotional, and it's a hard pill to swallow, but it was not a surprise. But maybe I'll get a second chance.
All right, Kimmi, thank you for your take on everything. That was awesome. All right, so we are going to go on to episode 6 now, and this is an episode that kind of goes down in history of Survivor, because it is, spoiler alert, the first medevac in the history of Survivor. And after this, there's not going to be not too many for a while, but it goes down in history. So, Sam, what are your thoughts of this episode going into it?
I mean, it's just such a like surreal episode to watch. I don't even know how to like describe it other than just being like completely just wild to watch and like super raw. Like the editing, the music, everything about it, and you just kind of get the sense that like from a production standpoint, like I don't think they ever thought that this was like a possibility. Like, oh, like we have these contestants, we're pushing them really hard, but like nothing will ever happen to them physically. And like that is one of the gnarliest like medical incidents of all of Survivor, hands down. Like it's absolutely crazy. And of course, like it leads to him coming back to a future season. But I think this really was just like an iconic TV moment of like in the entire country and for the franchise in general.
Oh, for sure. And I'm excited to talk about it because we also lose a certain person pre-merge that we probably wouldn't have lost. And I am happy now in 2020 that this person did not make it to jury. So let's start this round.
Yes. I find Michael Scoopin to be extremely creepy throughout his Australian Outback run. Like the things he says,
Serial
like genuinely gives me chills down my spine. Like it is literally crazy. Yeah. I just
I literally think he's a serial killer, not gonna lie. Sorry. He's from Michigan. I'm from Michigan. I shouldn't say that. He could come to my house and kill me. That's what's gonna happen. So
he scares me.
All right. So the start of the episode is Jeff talking about how it's gonna be fun to beat Ogakor in the end. They are cocky. They know they are about to go into a merge. Hopefully with 6-4. They know they're going to probably win the next immunity challenge. Jeff is cocky as usual. He is good with it. Over on Ogakor, they are starving as well. Jerry and Amber are banging bongos and talking about chocolate. You got Jerry saying that chocolate is the same endorphins as sex. And she has a dream where she wants to pour hot chocolate over some hot dude's bod and lick it off. And let's just keep going with that before we even go more into it. Sam, what are your thoughts?
Oh my God. Like I think Jerry to me is probably like a top 5 contestant of all time. And this is why I think she's just so funny and like, especially for kind of 2000s America. Like she's like definitely pushing boundaries here with what she's saying. And I think even Colby is such a like good sport about it in terms of like, it ain't about the chocolate is an iconic Colby line. It's an iconic line in all of Survivor. And it's just like, they're just screaming in the tent. Amber and Jerry like, ooh, time, ooh. And it's just
I may be a lot of things, but I may be a lot of things, but I ain't no Hershey bar.
And I think this is why also this episode is just like super iconic because not only does the medevac happen, but there is like some incredible fights. Jerry has another fight with Keith. Jerry has this chocolate moment. Like there is just such good content all around. Like this is just a cast of true characters. Like I love it.
You are lucky you got a really good episode. Like 5 and 6 are probably 2 of the best episodes of the season. Honestly,
oh for sure,
they probably are the 2 best. So it's just fun, and like how Jerry is saying like if Colby is part of the fantasy and he has to know that, like he knows the guy I'm talking about is him. She just wants him so bad. Like Jerry is horny. She is ready for that D. She wants Colby. Like, he's not having it.
Colby, it's like, girl. I'd be out there too, thirsting over Colby.
It's because Colby likes blondes.
Ooh.
I checked his Instagram. Look at his wife.
That is well, he's a Texan, so that makes sense. He's a Texan, so that definitely tracks. And he said
his type is definitely like a Stephanie Holman. That's his type.
Oh yeah. And he says maybe a lot of things, but it ain't no Hershey bar.
Amazing. For all of us out there, we are huge Housewives fans. So if you're watching and you like the Housewives, you should definitely check out our Bravo podcast, which we will be doing in the near future within the next few weeks here. So
And you know what? I feel like of almost all characters across Survivor, Jerry is one of the few contestants that I think would really work on that show. Like I think she would put her on New York City and she is fire. Like, can you imagine her going up against Ramona Singer?
She'd be incredible, but she just needs to find the man. Actually, she doesn't need to find the man. She's independent as she is.
But they can't single women all the time now. No man is needed. Never.
I don't think they need to fire OC, so maybe they should just put her on the OC.
Ooh, she does. Yeah, she is LA.
There you go. All right, so over on Kucha, we have the discovery of Kucha corn, foreshadowing to what's going to go down later in the episode. But it's like the chicken feed, and they just eat it all day. It's like, what's your thoughts on the Kucha corn?
It's kind of gross to watch, and they're making it like popcorn, and I'm just like, you get a little foreshadow of Michael injuring himself. It's just like, it's great foreshadowing, and I mean, I don't know if I would eat corn. I don't even know what it is. It's just like seed. Like it's grody.
Nasty. I mean,
nasty, and it foreshadows another food fight to come.
Oh yeah. Quiet, both of you are going to timeout. No, that's coming out. I love making fun of Tina. It's great. She's great. I wish Tina West would come here. Tina, if you're listening, join our podcast for an episode. We want all your one-liners. So there you go.
I love me some Tina.
Okay, back to Ogakor. We have the fight over the fried green tomatoes. So famous chef Jerry goes to make her next creation after Jerry's tortillas. She finds some fried green tomatoes, and she goes to make them into fried green tomatoes. So Jerry and Keith are fighting over the tomatoes. She's putting them on the pot, and he's yelling at her how she's preparing them. Colby's saying, I think it's disrespectful and rude because that's what Jerry loves to do. They start bickering, Jerry and Keith, and you have Tina who blurts out, "Stop it! The both of you, or you're going to timeout!" Basically, the whole tribe hates Jerry in this. They're all taking Keith's side. What's your thoughts on the fried green tomatoes?
Oh my God, I love it. My favorite moment is when Tina's eating them and she's like, "They're sour," and Jerry's like, "'Cause they're green." And it's just like this incredible back and forth that I live. I live. It's just like the pettiness of all of them here. It's just like Keith is like, "They sucked. They're bad." And Jerry really thinks she's doing something. She really does. She's eating these unripe tomatoes. And it kills her.
So delusional, and I love it. I love Jerry. Like,
I love her. Are you kidding?
Jerry Manthe, but she is delusional. She is
delusional. But here's the thing. I think without her, Ogakor is extremely boring. I think.
For sure, no question.
Well, I'm definitely more kind of Team Kucha and the Ogakor Kucha tribes. I think I just find a lot of the Kucha people to be more fun. Ogakor is literally just like old people kind of like slowly going around, and then Jerry just like stirring up shit, and it's just like incredible to watch.
Brilliant casting back in the day, for sure.
Brilliant casting.
All right, so next up is an iconic reward challenge. It's so good. When I was watching this with Sam Meyer, he was dying laughing during this because it's so funny. It's incredible. So it's the Follow the Leader challenge. They're all blindfolded, and each tribe chooses one person to lead them through like a maze. They have to traverse through, and basically at the end of it, they have to like get a picnic basket and put it on a picnic table. At the end of it, they have to get water. There's all these things. Firstly, why does Ogakor choose Jerry as their leader? Why? Why not Colby? Why not even Tina? Keith even? Why Jerry? What are your thoughts on them choosing Jerry?
Okay, so that was like absolutely something that I was thinking about. I live in an apartment building where I could hear all my neighbors. And the one thing that always travels the first are male voices. The men voices. It's like something about how deep it is. I think they always want to pick the loudest person, but I think that's a mistake with callers because like girls' voices, like the other male callers will drown out their voices. They're just going like, they're yelling to nothing basically. So I think they should have absolutely picked Colby for this as to be their caller.
Oh, for sure. Well, Kucha ends up making a good decision and choosing Nick, who has army experience. I think he was in the army, but he's military or whatnot. He has experience in it. So that was his thing. They get so close. It is neck and neck. You have Jerry screaming and Amber's right there with the picnic basket, really right next to the picnic table. And boom, Kucha does it last minute and wins. It's incredible. I was dying. Amber's face at the end with the blindfold on, like what the F is going on? Incredible. Colby's pissed off and throws a gallon of water on Jerry. It's brilliant. Just legendary.
That splashing of Jerry is like in all time. I effing love that. It's so brilliant. Everything about this challenge it's a good one. And it's only because how messy Okafor is. Like, yes, there's like good back and forth, and like it's hard to really follow, I guess, what's really happening on the screen. But like, just because the tension of everything happening Okafor, it's just brilliant. The defeat. I love when one tribe just gets wrecked time after time after time. That defeat is hilarious to me.
I know. Well, over on Okafor, morale is down. But Colby thinks if they lose the immunity challenge, there might still be opportunity for him. He thinks that I don't think he's as depressed as everybody else is, though. But everyone's like going off on their own. You have Jerry going on her like little nature trail by herself. She knows she's at the bottom of the totem pole, but she's ready to work with Kucha. She's ready to stab Okafor in the back. You see Colby thinking about the game, planning for the merge. Basically, Okafor needs a miracle, and I think they know it. They know they're screwed right now. What are your thoughts of Okafor before the evacuation?
I just loved Amber and Tina just like braiding each other's hair, and even that pissed off Jerry. She's like, they're not taking it seriously enough. Like that is just like everything about Jerry is so brilliant. Jerry all the time. I think love her. So yeah, I think, and Jerry says like, oh, even if I lose, like I can maybe find something in the other tribe, like being just completely clueless as to how this works. And I think like part of them is like they know they have to win, or it's just like it's over for them. So I think they're trying to like convince themselves like even if we lose, we may have a chance. When in reality, they would not have a chance at all.
And you know what? They asked for a miracle, and they got their miracle because over at the Kucha camp.
What a weird name for a tribe, by the way.
I know.
I don't know if they would ever let that fly these days.
I don't know. The Kucha tribe. Over at Kucha, Michael Skupin falls in the fire. So basically, the story is that he was going to pop some of their Kucha corn and passed out in the fire, hands first. Literally, his hands melted. Like you could see, like the skin peeling off his hands. Goes and runs in the river. You get production out there. They take him in a stretcher and helicopter him right out. So Michael Skupin is evacuated from the game, and everyone's really emotional. They don't know what's going on. Sam, what are your takes on the big evacuation?
It's just like so dramatic. Like I don't know if it was the music or something, but like even before it happens, like it's just so ominous and quiet. And then like all of a sudden you hear and I don't know. I feel like it's just like extremely traumatizing to everyone there. Like what they just witnessed is absolutely bonkers. And I love Elizabeth like being so soothing and getting in the water with Michael. Like that was super cute. And it was just like like you could just tell Michael was in complete shock. Like he was just saying crazy things. And even like the goodbye was just like so like melodramatic. It was so like extra. Everything about this was just like, I don't know if this would ever like be shown this way on Modern Survivor. It was just like very raw, where you saw like all of the steps. Like you saw him take, you saw him take basically relaxer. Like you saw everything about it. Like it was crazy. I don't know. It was very raw.
You basically got the vibe that it was like a documentary for kind of like a season 1 vibe, like how it was season 1 is like almost like a documentary. And you kind of got that season 1 vibe in this whole thing, because this isn't something that they had experienced or planned to experience, but they had to just keep those cameras rolling and see what happens. And, it comes down to Michael Skupin, Mr. Provider, Captain America of the Kucha tribe, being evacuated at the end of the day. So bye, Michael.
Bye, Michael. We miss you. I think something I like about the choice they made here with the editing is that if this were like a modern Survivor season, it would have been like the end of the episode would be him getting flown away. And instead we get like all of this great kind of like fallout, which to me is like something that would just be completely missing in like modern Survivor. They just be like, okay, cut to the next like strategy segment. So I like all of the like just emotional fallout, because like that is just like in a massively crazy traumatic thing we just watched on screen that all of these people are like in shock over. And they're also in shock with the fact that like they basically just lost the game over something that was just like complete fate, which is crazy to think about.
Exactly. All right. So here now that we finished the episodes, our next portion is our tops, our bottoms, and hot messes of the episode. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my top player of the overall 2 episodes. So for me, my top player of the overall 2 episodes is Colby. I think he has good ties with everyone on Ogakor. He's really in the safest spot on the tribe. Jerry's obsessed with him. Amber's still obsessed with him. He betrayed them and they still want to work with him. You have Tina and Keith that want him. So he really is in the best position right now on Ogakor. Who's your top player, Sam?
I would probably say my top player is Tina. I think she is someone, again, like she's just the best position. And I think obviously both of these episodes broke Ogakor's way in terms of kind of results. But with those results come even better results for her down the road. And I think she will work last week with Mitchell to be in the best position if Ogakor were to succeed, which they did. So Tina is my top for the week.
Perfect. I think Tina's a great choice too. That's a really good one, honestly. It's really between Colby and Tina of who's playing the best one. So
no, and I do think Colby's playing a great game. It's like he doesn't lose the game until later on. Like this isn't what loses him the game. If anything, he's just putting himself in a better position to potentially win.
For sure. I agree with you. All right. Bottom player of the 2 rounds. So my bottom player is Alicia Callaway. Starting the fight with Kimmi, making herself a vocal threat on the tribe. The tribe knows her plays. She's not going to win this game. She is Jeff's pet. She's, people like her on the tribe, but people know that she's not someone that anyone really want to take far in the game. So Alicia really made a mistake, bottom player of the rounds.
Okay, so I think I have a similar answer, but to me, I'm picking someone who probably has great experience with being a bottom, and that's Jeff Varner. I think he is someone that I think Alicia definitely has a bad episode, but I think this is just Alicia being Alicia. To me, Jeff Varner is a story of him at the beginning of episode 5, thinking he has the whole thing set up for him. They're going to stomp on Ogakor, Kucha all the way. He loses. He basically starts the fight, which gets Kimmi kicked off. And then in the next episode, he is just a victim to circumstance with Michael going out, which ends up, and in the episode where Kimmi goes, Kimmi throws another vote onto Jeff, which will prove to be pretty instrumental when it comes to the merge vote, which is another reason why he's the one that is the merge boot. So again, stacking up those votes, just like being a victim of circumstance to be the first. I think it's not a coincidence that Jeff Varner is the first person taken out at the merge.
You know what? I agree on that. I think that Jeff is kind of cocky, especially for somebody who has past votes. And knows that the votes could come back to haunt him. So,
and that's something that's interesting. I think I am someone that pre-season 34, I really liked Jeff Varner just because he was just like this catty gay that like always thought that he had everything figured out. And then like the game would be going in his favor with both Cambodia and with Australian Outback. And then it just the floor just collapses. It drops from beneath him. And his game is over like that. And I think I love Jeff Varner going into season 34. Like I was so excited to see him on Game Changers because I just think he's such a funny character. He's so witty. And just like the way he ruined, his Survivor persona, his chance at ever returning again, like, and just being another gay that did what he did is just like, it's so heartbreaking to me. Like it's one of those stories that it's another future Kucha person that just like completely changes their perception of them while you watch Australian Outback. It's crazy.
I do overall like Jeff. I do like him. I think he's a good guy. I think he made a very big mistake in Game Changers, and I think he still regrets that to this day. I think it was a mistake. I don't think it reflects him as a person. I truly don't. I think he made a really big mistake though with a little bit of much of a transphobic comment. And I think that really canceled him from Survivor. Sorry, Jeff. But yeah,
I really canceled him. I agree. Like he's probably more than just his one mistake in Game Changers, but he's fairly canceled and I never want to see him again. And it's just weird seeing how much potential he has, I think, as a player, because I think he does have a lot of potential, but he just, again, always finds a way to just get taken out right before his game is about to fire up.
Right. He's like almost like an older version of Colton. Ugh.
Yeah. But this is conversation for next week.
That's a one world conversation.
Oh, Colton.
All right. So next we have our Hot Mess Express. There's no one else other than the queen herself, Jerry Manthe, as our Hot Mess Express of the episode. Just for being an absolute mess, fighting with Keith, fighting with this one, making enemies with everyone on the tribe, just being an all-around villainess. And owning it and loving every second of it. Our chef Jerry, definitely Hot Mess Express. Do you agree, or do you have a different person?
I agree. I think Kimmi obviously is up there, but Jerry is just the one. Like the fact that she could just go on such a long run with the character that she is. It's just I just love everything about Jerry. I love all of the drama she just puts herself in time after time, and she is just the definition of Hot Mess Express. The definition.
Agreed. All right. So now that we finished our tops, bottoms, and hot messes, we are going to go on to our game of the day. Sam, it's time for you to play your first game on our Survivor Recap. All right. The name of our game is Team Kimmi or Team Alicia. So what we're going to do is I'm going to name 6 random celebrities to you. And you're going to tell me if you think that they would be Team Kimmi or they would be Team Alicia. And we'll talk about that. Okay, are you ready for your first one?
I'm ready. Let's do it. Let's bring it.
All right. So the first person is Lady Gaga.
You know, I think Lady Gaga, she loves the animals. She's all about peace and probably being, you know, a lover to all things that are living and walking. So she is absolutely Team Kimmi on this one. Thoughts?
I definitely agree with you. I think Lady Gaga would be Team Kimmi. I don't see Lady Gaga waving a finger. So I definitely don't see that. So definitely agree with you, Team Kimmi all the way.
Gaga would definitely have names for the chickens. They would have a close bond, I think.
All right. Next one would be Jeff Probst. What side do you think Jeff Probst would take?
I think he's definitely Team Alicia. Like, I think he is someone that's just like a straight man that just thinks like Kimmy's annoying. I think that was the approach of the whole show for the editing of this. And so I think he's definitely Team Alicia, right? I don't know.
You know, I think he could go either way. I personally think he's Team Kimmi. I think he loves someone who's just going to be a character. I think Jeff loved Jerry, and I do think he loved Kimmi as well. So I think, he did bring back both of them, but I don't know. I think he's Team Kimmi. I'm going to say that.
Okay.
All right. Next one. I think you're going to love this one.
Okay.
It is none other than the Grand Dame herself, Karen Huger. What would Karen say?
This is tough. I don't know. She's definitely someone that loves her etiquette. I don't think she would love a finger in her face as well. But I feel like she's been known to throw a few fingers in people's faces as well. So I'm going to say she's Team Alicia. I think she's Team Alicia.
I definitely think the Grand Dame is Team Alicia. No question. Karen Huger, no question. That's an easy one.
Yeah, I don't think she would have any problems with eating that chicken. She would have no names for those chickens. She'd be eating them right away. That is Karen Huger in my mind.
She'd be having her husband cook them up. All right, the next one is Rihanna.
Rihanna, I don't know. I want to say she's Team Kimmi because I think she always picks the side fight. I feel like she's Team Kimmi on this one, right?
I agree with you. I think Rihanna would be Team Kimmi because she's like all love, no war. She doesn't like to be argumentative, and I think like she stands by everything. She's been big on protesting as well, so I definitely think she'd be Team Kimmi.
Okay, I agree with this. One.
This next one's going to be an interesting one. We got Mitch McConnell. Soon to be leader of the minority Senate, Mitch McConnell. Thank you.
Bless. This is the great thing about 2021. The great news of 2021 so far. Mitch McConnell. Let's see. You know what? I think he would be Team Kimmi or Team Alicia. Sorry, he's definitely Team Alicia because he would not like a loud woman ever be talking to him in any way because he only respects white men. And so I think he would feel very frustrated with Kimmi being loud and say that Alicia was fair to react the way she did. So I think Mitch McConnell is definitely Team Alicia, which is not a company I would want to be in. No. Oh my God, Alicia, Mitch McConnell.
Those are two people I would not want to play Survivor with.
Hell no.
I'm sending my Venmo request, Mr. McConnell. Thank you. Next, and last but not least, we have Alaska, Thunderfuck 5000, the drag queen. What would Alaska do?
Oh, please. She's Team Kimmi all the way. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's for Kimmi for life. Like, she could make a video impersonating her. Like, let's get real.
Oh, my God. I feel like Kimmi, in many ways, is like, I think Alaska strives to be kind of like the genius that Kimmi is.
Oh, I agree. I definitely agree.
100%.
All right, so that about wraps up our show. First, Sam, where can our viewers follow you?
Okay, I think my Twitter is Sam Henson 24. There you go. Thank you for the little bump there. You can follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Letterboxd. I'm always doing film reviews there. And yeah, come check me out.
Perfect. You can follow me on Twitter at Mendels8. And lastly, if you want to join the Couch Potato Queens, you can follow us on Twitter at Couch Potato Queens. That's Couch Potato QWNZ. And you can also add us on your Facebook group. You can add our Facebook group. It's the Couch Potato Queens podcast. Definitely like, subscribe, comment. We want to hear from you. And always remember to outwit, outlast, and outgay Henny. Have a good day, guys.